my lovely art students. Today I want to talk to you about drawing pencils. I actually have a video that is made by thevirtualinstructor.com, I think it's .com, that I really like to show when we talk about drawing pencils. It talks about what and the difference between them and why some are better for some things and others are better for other things. But I have found that sometimes that video doesn't like to work, so I should make my own. So let's talk about drawing pencils. Drawing pencils are for drawing. Writing pencils are for writing. Generally, the difference between the two is the quality of the graphite inside of the pencil. Drawing pencils are designated by a scale that includes an H or a B, while writing pencils generally have a number that goes along with them. So, for instance, this regular old number 2 pencil, if you look really, really close, I don't know if it'll zoom or focus, it has a number 2 on it, meaning that it's kind of a mid-range value pencil. The equivalent to that in the drawing pencil world is called an HB pencil. There's not really a whole lot of difference between the two except for the quality of the graphite on the inside. So again, each pencil has a number and or letter along the shaft of the pencil somewhere that designates which type of or which pencil it is. The different numbers and letters differentiate between the hardness or softness of the graphite on the inside. So if HB is in the middle, and this scale is a really good example of that, if HB is in the middle in your value range, then your H pencils, the ones that say 2H, 3H, 4H, etc., have a harder graphite inside. H stands for hard. The harder the graphite, the lighter the pencil is going to make. The B pencils on the other side, on this scale, they have H's on the left and B's on the right. The B pencils, B means blacker, have softer graphite, and therefore they make a darker mark. I always describe this as being like a stick of butter, and I get funny looks from students when I explain it that way. But if you think about, you have a slice of toast and you want to put butter on it. If your butter is straight out of the refrigerator, when you go to put it on and it's really hard, it doesn't smear well. Not a whole lot of the butter spreads across the toast because of the hardness. Same thing with your graphite pencils. The harder the pencil, the less of the medium that is applied to your canvas. If your butter is soft and melty and it's been sitting on the counter for a while and it's gotten really smooth when you smear it out because of the softness, you get a lot more butter on your slice of toast. So again, same thing with your pencils. A B pencil, B for black, has a softer graphite, meaning that it leaves more pigment on the paper, making a darker mark. So think H for hard, B for black. I also often say B for bold, but usually B for black makes sense, or H for highlight, because highlights tend to be lighter in value. So in addition to having the letter H or the letter B on the pencil, there's also a number. That number differentiates the H pencils from the lighter range of the H pencils to the darker range of the H pencils. So a number 2H is closer to an HB, meaning it's still a little bit on the harder side compared to, say, a 4H. This scale goes all the way to 9H. So you would have 9H, 8H, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then a regular H. And we're getting harder and darker as we go across that scale. F stands for fine. Really, I'm not even certain that there's enough difference between any of these to really require that extra pencil, but there it is. On the other side, in your B range, B for black, softer graphite. You have HB here in the middle. We move on to B or 1B. 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, it's getting darker as you're going across because the graphite is getting softer, all the way up to 9B. So 9B is the darkest pencil that's available, while 9H is the lightest pencil that's available. Something to keep in mind is that different brands, there's not really a hard concrete scale that determines the hardness or softness of the pencil differentiation. So a 9H in one pencil might be darker or lighter than a 9H in a different brand of at the same number. So anyway, in this image, they show a variety of pencils and the marks that were made using those pencils, the different values, with the same amount of pressure applied using each. So they harder on this one to get the darker value than they did on this one to get the lighter value. It's the same amount of pressure applied by the artist. So when you're putting your pencil down and you're using it to make your values, the amount of pressure remained consistent all the way across. What changed was the pencil, the hardness of the pencil or the softness of the pencil. Here's another example that kind of shows the same thing. 9H, 8H, they're getting darker as they're going across as those graphite softer. So what that looks like is a lot like a value scale. We've talked about value scales before. I think we've gone over them when we've looked at sketch marks, and we've made value scales using hatches and cross hatches. This is a smooth value scale, meaning you don't see the pencil marks in it. The shading was done in a really smooth way that you don't have texture. It goes from solid white in this example, gradually going across to solid black. There's 9 steps on this scale, white being number 1, 9 being black. And then in the middle you have your medium grays, your lighter grays, closer to the whites, and your darkers, closer to the black. So it gradually changes from one box to the next. This is what we're going to be working on today. So keep in mind, all of this can be done with just one pencil. You don't have to switch. This isn't necessarily a 9H. This isn't necessarily a 6H. We're not changing the pencils to create a value scale. We're going to look at the different pencils that are available and make value scales with each. The purpose for that, and this example is perfect for that. Let me see if I can make this a little brighter for you. Lamp. Artists don't always use the full set of pencils. Most artists don't even have a full set of pencils because honestly, a lot of them are useless. The 9H pencils, the graphite is so hard in them that the mark that's left is so light. Even when you're pressing at the absolute hardest, the pencil is so hard, it just tears the paper, depending on what kind of paper you're using. We won't use 9H pencils because truly, with what we're doing, they're pointless. But there are a few standard pencils, usually somewhere in about the 4H to the 4B range that get used. But it depends on how firmly you press. If you press really hard and you want a lighter value, then maybe using an H pencil is a better choice for you. If you tend to have a lighter touch, then a B pencil might be good for you. It also depends on the kind of paper. Because B pencils have softer graphite, when you have a paper that the texture is visible, or you can feel the texture, it has tooth, is what that's called. You can often see the tooth when the B pencil goes over the paper because of the way the pigment rests on it. Also, it depends on the mood you're trying to create. If you want lighter values, then you're probably going to use more H pencils. If you want darker values, you'd use more B pencils. So it kind of just depends on the image that you've selected and what kind of a look you're aiming for. So these are 2 examples that are straight from that virtualinstructor.com website that I talked about that has an amazing video that's much better than mine, where they show a couple different artworks that are drawings done in graphite, and they tell you which pencils were used and why. So for instance, this one with the baby has a lot of these dark values in it, and it says that an HB pencil, a 2B, and a 6B were used. Those are all those B pencils. They're darker values, softer graphite, darker values. As opposed to this one that is mostly really light values, there's a few where it gets a little bit dark, where maybe the light pencils wouldn't have been able to get dark enough to make those rich, deep values. This one used H, HB, and 4B. So the range of pencils is fairly small, but you do use a little bit of variety to get your lights and your darks in the textures that you're looking for and the range that you're looking for. So just a quick review of our value vocab. Value is the range of light and dark. So that can be of just white to black with grays in between. It can also be a range of solid all the way to solid black with blues in between. So light blues, medium blues, all the way to dark blues. Value is any difference between lightness and darkness. The contrast of value is the difference between the light and the dark. A value scale, again, is a scale that shows the full range of values from solid white to solid black. Usually it has 9 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they gradually change from one box on the scale to the next. So there's not a huge jump from a light value right into a dark value. High key values. High key means they are on the light end of the scale. Light values over here are called high key. Your mid-range values, or also known as middle values, are over here in the middle of your scale. And your low-key values, or the dark values, are on this far end of the scale. I am not picky about whether your scale starts with black or starts with white. Honestly, I'm more concerned about the transition of values in between and making those accurate. So for our assignment today, we are going to practice using the different drawing pencils to create 3 different value scales. What a lot of students get confused about when I hand this paper out is they think that I want them to use a variety of pencils on each scale, and that is inaccurate. What I do want you to do is to pick one B pencil. I have a 4B here. One H pencil. For my example, I have a 4H. And an HB pencil. It can just be your number 2. There's not a whole lot of just HB pencils in the drawing pencil box because it's the same as your number 2, so I don't spend a lot of money on those. Each scale is completed with just the one pencil. This way, you're getting experience to figure out which pencils work better for you. How much control do you have over the pencil that you're using to be able to get the light values and the dark values, the high key and the low key? How well can you control how smooth the value is applied? I do better with B pencils, kind of in the mid-range of the Bs, 4Bs up to 6Bs. But a lot of artists work better with the H pencils. So really it depends on how you work as an artist. So what you're doing is, again, filling out that value scale, and I've just got a little sheet of paper here to give you an example. I generally turn my pencil on the side so that I'm using the edge of the graphite rather than the tip. That can often be really sharp, and it's harder to get smooth shading when you're using a really sharp pencil. If you're using the edge of the pencil, I feel like it's easier to get that smoothness because you don't have the sharp tip on it. And this is why I tell students constantly that I don't know how you're able to shade things with mechanical pencils. They constantly stay sharp. So if you can, more power to you, but I don't get how you do it. So again, we're practicing using the value, controlling our pressure to create smooth value. You can also layer to make darker values, so layering and applying more pressure is going to give you the different values. And that way you're going from solid white gradually to black. I really think my pencil's broken. It's trying to come out of the shaft. On your value scale. I want you to be neat, take your time, and do a good job filling that in. And again, you are only using 3 pencils. Doesn't matter which one, just write which one you've chosen at the top. So in the row that says choose an H pencil, the whole row is done with one single H pencil. In the row that says HB, you're just using a number 2 pencil to complete the whole row, all the lights and the darks. And in the row that says a B pencil, you're using one B pencil to make all the light and the dark values that create the whole value scale. Thank you so much, and please let me know if you have any questions.